Week number 9 is underway. Going into Sunday's main slate, here are 10 flex plays that you guys can throw out there into your lineup. We're going to go over a couple of wide receivers today, a couple of running backs, and some quarterbacks and tight end. I actually went and threw in some honorable mentions at wide receiver since, every receiver decided to pass away over the past couple of weeks. It looks like we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper at that position, and your favorite boomer fantasy football analyst was right that running backs are king, at least as far as this year is concerned. So let's break down all the guys we're going to get into at any point in this video. If you get some value, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Starting with Josh Downs, my must-start wide receiver number 1. It goes without saying, but any order that I'm going in here, the first receiver I talk about, I would start over, let's say, the fourth receiver that I talk about, and so on and so forth. Josh Downs versus the Minnesota Vikings this year. He has been spectacular in 2024 since he's been on the field. He's the number 1 in this offense. A 26% target share, 29% targets per route run, over 15 PPR points in 4 of his 6 games so far, and he's also been better with Joe Flacco, and Flacco is expected to start this game. Viking slot cornerback Byron Murphy, who will be his primary matchup, has been targeted at the 5th highest rate among any cornerback in the NFL, and he is going to get a heavy dose of Josh Downs, who, like I said, has been targeted nearly 29-30% of the time on his routes. That will not help those numbers one bit. The Vikings as a team are also 30th against fantasy wide receivers, so fire up your Josh Downs this week. He is in a very good spot. Throughout this video, we'll build out a little pick 'em entry too. I like him to go higher than 57.5 receiving yards if you want to tail it. Link down below in the pinned comment to sign up over on Underdog Fantasy. If you need any start-sit help as well, my weekly rankings are free when you sign up over on Underdog with promo code FSE. You get my weekly rankings, Danny's weekly rankings, and our matchup charts and our manifesto. So getting into Ladd McConkey, who is the next guy that I want to talk about here. Cleveland is his matchup. Cleveland is a very easy matchup for fantasy wide receivers. Quietly, Ladd McConkey is having one of the better rookie seasons we've seen in a while. He comes right in as a second-round pick, leads the team with a 24% target share, over 12 yards per reception, despite being targeted at sub-10 ADOT. So he's being targeted short of the line of scrimmage of the sticks, and he's getting, yards after the catch. That's what Ladd McConkey does. 2.01 yards per route run is a very good number for a rookie wide receiver. Top 24 PFF receiving grade as well. This game might be sneaky high scoring in my opinion. I think the Chargers and Browns could both put up some points, and Browns slot cornerback Greg Newsome is just as bad as Byron Murphy has been this season. Both of them were tied for 5th with 0.36 fantasy points per route run allowed, both ranking bottom 5 among all starting cornerbacks in the NFL. So I like Ladd McConkey to continue his hot streak. Obviously, had a monster game last week, 29 PPR points. I think he can get that going and have that continue going into this game against the Browns. Next up, we have Khalil Shakir, another slot receiver, going up against the Miami Dolphins. Again, if you look at his primary matchup, Cam Smith, the Dolphins corner, leads all corners in target rate, 27% on his routes, and fantasy points per route run was 0.44. He might be on Amari Cooper about half the time as well, but when he is on Khalil Shakir, he is going to feast. He's been really good this season. Shakir has been over 10 fantasy points in PPR leagues every game that he's been healthy, and he wasn't limited in. Well, the only game that we really saw that was the Jets. He's Josh Allen's go-to guy. He has a perfect passer rating when targeting Khalil Shakir, and 97% of Allen's targets to Shakir have been deemed catchable, and 0 drops. All of them have gone to Shakir. He has caught literally 97% of his targets. So every time you get a 5-target game out of Shakir, you get a 7-target game out of Shakir. Pretty much all of those end up being receptions, which is extreme efficiency in PPR leagues. This game also has a pretty high total going up against the Dolphins. Miami is a little bit weaker over the middle, so I'm firing up Khalil Shakir, who has at least a 23% target share in back-to-back games, and I like him to go higher than 20.5 for his longest reception. He has had a catch longer than 20 yards in every game except for one that he's been healthy in. So rather than playing it through his total receiving yards, I think anytime Cam Smith is on him, he has a chance to break a big one. So some deeper names at wide receiver, because like I said, there's just so many wide receiver injuries. I feel like I should rattle off a couple more deeper names. Calvin Ridley versus New England. He had 10-plus targets in the first half against Detroit last week. Even though he's going up against Christian Gonzalez this week, I feel like he can get some targets. Will Levis looks like he's going to be back. Cortland Sutton versus Baltimore. Excellent matchup. 31st ranked ranked against fantasy wide receivers. Bo Nix just won Offensive Rookie of the Month, so he's playing pretty well right now. I like Courtland Sutton to go higher than 47.5 receiving yards. Romeo Doubs versus Detroit, high scoring, gotta have it game for Green Bay, and Romeo Doubs has been over 10 PPR points in 3 straight games, and he has been operating as the team's number 1 receiver, at least in terms of route participation and downfield type of usage. And I also like Xavier Worthy versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because you know what? My defense, the Buccaneers defense, allows big plays like it's a bodily function right now, and Xavier Worthy breaking for a long touchdown would not surprise me one bit in this game. So let's move into the running back position, some must starts there. We have Chase Brown versus the Las Vegas Raiders, a very, very good matchup for him. 29th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back position are the Raiders, 30th in rush defense DVOA allowed to the running back position. The Bengals are over a touchdown favorite, implied for 27 points according to Vegas, and Chase's workload has been steadily increasing, seeing the bulk of the carries in now 5 straight games in a row over Zach Moss. I have him ranked over guys that probably have a little bit better workloads like Connor and Pollard and Stevenson and maybe the Bucs running backs and some of those type of dudes, but I feel very comfortable that whatever touches Chase Brown gets, whether it's 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe we get lucky it's 18, 20 touch game from him in a good game script. I think he's going to be very efficient on those touches. He's starting to get a little bit more work inside the 5, inside the red zone as well. So I feel pretty confident in Chase Brown this week. Fire him up as a top 24 running back. Nick Chubb versus the Chargers, also same kind of game environment that I talked about with McConkey. The Browns offense went from the stone worst offense in the NFL from an EPA standpoint, a DVOA standpoint, into a kind of spicy unit now with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Nick Chubb played just his second game back from the ACL tear last week, and you might be wondering, okay, how is his snap share looking? Is he starting to ramp up usage? The answer is he's already there. He's already back to where he was pre-injury from a usage standpoint. In just his second game back, he had 61% of the snaps, 70% of the carries, and a modest, third down roll, 42% of the routes, 89% of the 2-minute drill snaps. That's exactly what Nick Chubb has been over the course of his entire career. So he's back now, and you should be buying low on him right now because the efficiency hopefully will start to get higher and higher as every passing game goes by. The Chargers are 9th against fantasy running backs, so it's not an easy matchup, but Jameis Winston has given this offense life, and even if this game is a slugfest, which it definitely could be, a heavy dose of Nick Chubb will be on the menu. I also really like Alexander Mattison this week. He's my third sneaky start here, must-start running back in flex territory. I realize that the Raiders offense makes us all want to, rub sand laced with Scotch bonnet in our eyes because it's just not a good offense to watch, but Alexander Mattison is a full-on workhorse here. Zamir White was downgraded to a did not practice with an upper leg injury. I think it was a quad injury. This Thursday's practice, as I'm recording this Friday morning, we haven't seen what the practice report looks like, but it's putting his week 9 status in doubt. And we've seen Alexander Mattison be durable, be consistent, get a lot of snaps, get a lot of carries for like 4 games now. And he is also getting targets too. He's had at least 3 targets in 4 straight games. So even though the Bengals are a touchdown favorite and they also rank 13th in adjusted fantasy points allowed to running backs, I think the volume both on the ground, in the red zone, and through the air should be able to carry Alexander Mattison to an RB2 performance. So I feel pretty comfortable and confident in him. Moving into quarterbacks and tight ends, I'll rattle through these guys really quick. The quarterbacks I'm about to talk about, I have ranked over Jordan Love, assuming he's limited in any way, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Tua Tagovailoa, CJ Stroud, who played last night, and Geno Smith. So if you have those quarterbacks that I just named, I would actually start the 2 guys I'm about to talk about over all of those guys. The first being Kirk Cousins facing the Dallas Cowboys this week. It is the highest over-under on the slate. The Falcons are implied for 27.5 points, according to Vegas, and the Cowboys are 3rd easiest quarterback matchup on the slate, only behind the Jaguars, who, of course, Jalen Hurts is probably going to wipe the floor with, and the Carolina Panthers, who Derek Carr is going up against. We've seen the Cousins spike week games. 2 of the last 4 weeks, he's been over 27 fantasy points. And I really think we're getting another big performance out of Kirk Cousins. We are out of Kirktober now, which is usually the time of year that he plays very well. But I do think he can still have a big game against the Dallas Cowboys, who are probably going to put up points on the other side of the ball. And we also have Sam Darnold going up against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football. The Vikings implied for 26 points. Joe Flacco on the other side of the ball, probably going to help run up the score on the Vikings defense without Anthony Richardson there. Darnold has been sub 20 fantasy points in his last 3 games, but this week it's a really good matchup, 25th rated pass defense. He gets TJ Hawkinson back, and according to Kevin O'Connell, he's going to be a full go, not limited in any way. They've been patient with him. Of course, Justin Jefferson's going to get his. Jordan Addison's tweeting free 3, and his dad's tweeting free 3. Maybe it's a get-right game for him. I feel confident that Sam Darnold's going to have a pretty good performance on Sunday night. Tight end position, best streaming tight ends out there, bar none, are K. Dotton, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, assuming he's playing. K. Dotton is no longer really in streamer territory because he is literally an every week starter. He leads all tight ends in receiving yards the last 2 weeks. But if you can't get one of those streamers, and I'm assuming some of you guys are going to need streaming tight ends because George Kittle is off on bye this week, as is Pat Freiermuth. But let's go dumpster diving if you guys do have Kittle on bye like I do in one of my leagues. Noah Fant versus the Los Angeles Rams is a half-decent option. The Rams are dead last in DVOA to the tight end position. Jackson Smith-Njigba has a pretty tough matchup in the slot. We are uncertain if DK Metcalf is going to play. Noah Fant has upside this week to catch a couple balls, maybe find the end zone as well. So if you need a tight end option, I think Noah Fant's a decent one. If you really want to dig deep with this next guy, or maybe you just want to play him in like DFS or, bet him to score a touchdown or something, Taysom Hill versus the Carolina Panthers is a very interesting one. First off, Taysom Hill is very unpredictable as far as when he's going to get volume. Maybe he's going to score a touchdown. Maybe he's going to get a carry. Maybe he's going to have a long catch. We don't exactly know what to think of Taysom Hill right now, but he's starting to get healthy. He sniped 2 goal line touchdowns from Alvin Kamara when he was last healthy earlier on this season, and the Panthers are tied for dead last with the Jacksonville Jaguars as the worst defenses versus fantasy football tight ends. It could be a Juwan Johnson game, could be a Foster Moreau game, could be a Taysom Hill game. We don't really know, but I kind of like the idea of Taysom Hill getting back on track and having a spike week this week against a really bad defense. They beat the shit out of them in week 1 when they played them last time, and Derek Carr is expected to be back, so I'm sure Taysom Hill is going to have a little bit more pass volume to work with Derek Carr at the helm as opposed to Spencer Rattler. So that is the end of this video. Sneaky starts for week 9. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you want to tail the entry that we built out for the wide receivers, I also broke this down over on my TikTok, but link down below in the pinned comment to sign up on Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code FSE when you sign up, and when you sign up, you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash, a special Jalen Hurts pick to throw into this entry to make it a 10x if it hits. And when you make a play on the site and deposit at least $10, you also get our weekly start sit rankings for free, which are emailed to your email inbox within 24 hours of that happening. So head on over to the link in the pinned comment to do that. All my rest of season rankings, my weekly rankings, also available over on flockfantasy.com, which is linked down below in the pinned comment as well. Use the promo code FSE. Sign up for an annual. You get a free team review. I can review your redraft team, your dynasty team, tell you what to do, tell you what not to do going forward. If that interests you, link down below in the pinned comment. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new around here. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.